Welcome to the Flymen Fishing Show, where we talk fly fishing, fly tying, and everything in between. I'm your host, Scotty Davis. So this afternoon we have Frankie Marion, a filmmaker and boat builder. Hell of a good guy. We've been friends for quite a while. How you doing today?
Good, man. I'm glad we were able to finally get together and do this. These podcasts have been super fun to get together and talk about, I guess, selfishly talk about what we've been doing. But it's really been, we've had a lot of customers call and say they've heard of us through this platform, which is super rad. I enjoy doing these. We played around with trying to do an Xplor podcast, but with the myriad of other things we have to do, it got slated on the back burner.
Yeah, I saw you had Mike Taylor on one, the wilderness medicine guy.
Yeah, dude, he was freaking awesome. And I wish I want to have him back down to do all that stuff again, because you forget that crap so quickly. And and for those of you who know, Mike Taylor does, he worked for a consulting company, did a lot of wilderness medicine, and he's an EMT. His wife's in the medical field as well. And we wanted to get him to come in and teach me how to kind of treat enough to get us to the hospital, like if something happened. And man, after we started going through that, all the different things that popped into my head that like could happen if me and you went and fished a flood tide in Charleston, like that would prevent us from getting to the hospital. It was like overwhelming. And it's like taking a CPR class. Like you go through the motions to get your certificate, and then somebody actually needs CPR, and you're like, I have no idea how to do this when it's done.
Yeah, he puts everything in practical situations too, like how to get somebody off a boat and back on a boat and things like that. So
and he built us out this badass medical kit that like had it. I've keep it with me. I take it with me everywhere. I mean, it's a Pelican case that they build through one of his partners that has all the bandages and like a medical supply. I can't remember the name of it, but dude, I've used that thing unfortunately about 12 or 15 times with either my kids or somebody here at the shop needing something. I broke my arm on a boat a couple of years ago, and it's crazy how few people take first aid seriously on a boat. And we could go down this rabbit hole for freaking ever, by the way, but how many people don't? And I've used that a lot more than I ever thought I would use it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's serious. And like you said, a lot of people don't take it for very seriously. My old roommate was a fishing guide, and he had a tiller handle boat. And when he fell off the back, since it was a tiller, it turned and the boat smashed his face, came full circle and ran his leg over. And, he was barely conscious, and the guy, I guess, knew what to do, wrapped a towel around his leg. And this tough son of a bitch called his mom and said, I need you to meet me at the boat ramp and take me to the doctor. Not airlifted out of here, which he needed, but.
Well, that's the same way I broke my arm. Is a grab bar. We had a temporary grab bar in a R&D boat, and somebody else was driving, and we were trying to check the CG point while running on the boat just to see if we had it right. And I was sliding back to the back of the boat, and we hit a wave, and the grab bar ripped out of the floor, and the guy driving let go of the tiller arm, which kicked it sideways and threw me out the other side. And I hit my arm right here about as hard as I could swing it on the leg of the polling tower. Eesh. And crunched my arm. And the boat was so light. I mean, it was just a foam plug that it was flipping up, and it was getting ready to flip over on top of me. And I was able to, on my way out, I snagged the kill switch, and it shut the motor down. Because when the guy let go, he fell backwards, and the kill switch wasn't going to go off. But yeah, so it can have everybody sober as a judge doing everything right, like really trying to be careful, and it can go south really fast.
Yeah, you should definitely get him up there. I'll come up. You could get a bunch of Charleston guys together.
Well, that's what I was telling him, is like, what would it cost per person for somebody to come up and do like a 3-day class and get one of these boxes when you're done? Because I'd love to go through it again where I'm actually like fully paying attention, not trying to film it all or record it all, but where like I'm listening. And I know there's a ton of people that would, from big boat guys to skiff guys to just people that are out doing hunting and fishing stuff as it is.
Yeah, and where you are, all the striper guys on the lake,
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
plus
just drive back to the boat ramp.
I could spend weeks with that dude. He's about the funniest son of a bitch on the planet too.
Oh, Taylor's a trip now. He doesn't. He's. You give him some Bojangles chicken and some sweet tea, and that some bitch is ready to go.
Yeah, yeah,
That's all he needs.
yeah. That was when I talked to him. That was the first thing we talked about, him moving back east strictly for the
For
Bojangles.
the Bojangles, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
he loves that shit. Every time he showed up at the house, he's got a fresh cup and a fresh bucket of chicken with him.
Life dreams.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Shit, I don't normally do like a chronological thing, but like we'll kind of start at the beginning with you because you've done so much stuff since I've known you. Did you grow up in South Carolina?
Yeah, I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, and was fortunate enough to grow up around boats all of my life. And my I say my family was a boating family more than we were like a hunting side of things. I mean, we lived a good ways from the coast, but my grandfather had boats, so and we had a place at the coast that we're lucky enough to be able to go like in Pawleys Island, which I know you know of. Having a little John boat and being able to like my parents being a lot, I'd say, open-minded than I feel like I am with my kids now, but a lot more trustworthy than I think I am with my kids now, to like give me a free rein and a little 15-foot John boat when I was 10, 11 years old and just go wherever. And as long as I had a life jacket and had kind of passed my dad's test, which was very limited, I could go do whatever I wanted to go do and go fishing and open up this like huge world of self-exploration that it was just fantastic. I mean, in that time, a lot of our coast was obviously not near as developed as it is now. And there's hurricane debris from all over the place, and you go treasure hunting as a kid and find forks and plates, but all of it evolved around like the boat getting you there. And it was kind of not until now, looking back at that and seeing how fortunate we are as a company now to be able to build these things that can furnish this like insane adventure that for me like means the world and is like molded me as a person far beyond I would ever imagine.
Like Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, well, yeah. But just crazy shit, like whether it be going fishing or going and like pulling your buddies, back then kneeboarding or tubing or something like that. And it didn't have to be some grand adventure. I mean, it was just the fact that like our parents had let us take this thing out of ourselves. Like how cool was that? And
Freedom.
So yeah, grew up there. And then my uncle, I had two uncles that were really kind of a big part of me seeing, planting a seed of something that I knew that I wanted to do the rest of my life. I knew I wanted to be in outdoors from when I was a kid, but my aunt's husband did very well in the stock market and had some bigger boats. And so as in my 6, 7, 8, 9, up through my teenage years, we got to go fishing with him and see these videos of him. He had some big custom sportfish boats, some big Hatteras and Roboviches and stuff like that. And they filmed everything. And it was like so ahead of like time, but I got to see them like in the Bahamas in the 80s, like blue marlin fishing and tuna fishing. I never got to go do it, but like that sense of adventure and that pursuit just like I don't know, it stuck with me like crazy. And my other uncle was a nautical engineer or naval engineer for Hatteras for a while, and then worked at I don't know if you were Nautica boats.
Yeah, the ski
sales
boat
in Georgetown. It was kind of a staple, but no, it was right beside Georgetown Lincoln Marine, but the boat dealership. They sold Albemarle and Boston Whaler.
Yeah,
and so,
yeah,
as a kid going in there, and these like 20-foot boats seemed like just ships, as a kid looking up at them and getting all their catalogs and all that and dreaming of all this stuff and drawing pictures of them. And it was awesome to be able to have the freedom to go see that and do that. And it's not lost on me how absolutely fortunate I am to be able to even been exposed to that stuff. It's kind of a two-sided deal. We were just talking to a buddy of mine about this the other day, about how you get to go see these things and it plants this taste in your mouth and you want to go taste it again. And it may be so far, like the amount of expendable income it takes to do it, or like how far are you willing to go to do that again? And there's a lot of jealousy to some of the people that can just be totally content to like go home at the end of the day and like be stoked that that's their day.
Yeah.
Like part of me gets jealous of that sometimes, just because some of the stuff that I've been lucky enough to see, and a lot of guys on our side of things have. You just want to feel it again and go see it again. And so that kind of got the ball rolling for me as far as getting through the earlier part of my life. And we had some boats growing up, whether it be John boats or out of 17-foot Boston whaler, all the way through probably into high school, that I got some free reign to go use wherever, and we towed it to the Keys and built duck blinds on it and shot birds out of it and kind of used that boat as a Swiss Army knife. And then got kind of tired of. I really enjoyed offshore fishing. I still enjoy offshore fishing, but that was kind of where I wanted to be, the space I wanted to be in. And when I was about 16, started trying to like hop on and mate on a few boats, and some guys out of Georgetown were nice enough to take me along with them on their bigger boats and kind of see what that workflow looked like, and make a pile of mistakes and show up late and get left and do all those dumb things you do when you're a kid. And then from there, moved up to Hatteras, North Carolina, and fished a season or year up there. And that really kind of plugged me into the kind of punch A-list guys of the offshore side of things. I was there kind of at the tail end of the peak of the bluefin action that happened in the late 90s and on the Outer Banks. And when I got there, everybody who was anybody in heavy tackle fishing was there, which is really what I wanted to do. And so that kind of changed my trajectory a little bit. I went from there and went to a handful of different colleges in the interim of there, where I would go and then fail out and go fishing again. And went to Mexico and the Caribbean, Australia, and Venezuela, South America a little bit. Just kind of freelance hopped around and did that. And it was just amazing to go be able to get paid to be at those places. You're working there, but you still got to be there. And the network of friends and stuff, and we were still super tight. And a lot of it helped me in this space, although it's a much different deal, being able to know know a lot of the guys in North Carolina that build those bigger boats and why they do this and do that, and applying some of those same principles to what we're doing now for smaller boats, I think has really been a big feather in our cap when it comes to how the rod quality that we're looking for and the performance that we're looking for on our boats versus some other guys' boats. There's a bunch of great boats out there right now. We have tried to do ours a little bit different our way, and I'm humbled by the amount of response that we get and how many boats we have to build right now for guys that have kind of put their faith in us to do so. So after, and doing that, then started C1 Films. After I'll leave out some of the other stuff, it could take a long time. And started doing films, and was then exposed into the shallow water community, which I was completely oblivious to. I was mainly focused on blue marlin fishing, and for me to be able to afford to go legitimately like be a part of that scene, there's no way to have a family. It was super expensive if you were going to be actually controlling any of it as far as an owner or something like that goes, and it just wasn't realistic as a career path for me, with my wife and I starting a family and starting to have some kids and wanting to be there, not wanting to be absent on that stuff, but wanting to be a part of it, and loving that kind of apex predator hunt of a blue marlin that I found tarpon. And it's like, well, shoot, I can actually save up and go do this for a couple of days and a year and get better at it. I can practice at home with throwing a fly rod. Like I never thrown a fly rod up until, probably 8 or 9 years ago. So I started making these movies about what, the stuff that I like to see. And it enabled me again to be able to be on location somewhere and fish a little bit here and there, but still learn about what it was to do that stuff. And fell in with Nathaniel Linville down at the Angling Company in Key West, who's just a fantastic person and an insane angler, and just made my really easy as far as making some pretty epic movies about tarpon fishing and permit fishing and kind of everything around what was done in the Keys. And the whole time I'm getting exposed to, meeting a bunch of these guides and stuff that probably wouldn't give me the time of day had I not been with Nathaniel. And just exposed me a lot more into a market that I'd never been a part of. And I would get on these boats with these guys and think, well, man, if we did this to this bar or did this to that, it would make it ride a little bit better. But never thought I'd ever be in the position that I'm in right now as far as having a boat come. Love boats and messing with them and whatnot, probably like anybody that does this stuff. But I wanted to do a film about an adventure. And as a kid, I'd always read books and stuff at the library about these guys that would go on this hunting trips and, the Lewis and Clark kind of stuff, or where they go like have to pit their skills against their, I don't say their survival, but like for us, it definitely wasn't survival, but for them, it probably was. But like, are they good enough to go do this? And so it was hard to do hunting just because land access and, there's a barrier, whether it be a property line or something, like you couldn't just go. And so started a film series called Xplor Project that we did in the Bahamas the first year, and it had a bunch of rules, but the kind of main highlight where we had to catch everything with all our protein had to be caught with our fly rod or by hand, like diving with very manual things. And we had to have a very set gear list. We could only take what would fit in the boat. And Maverick was our partners for that first one, and we used a 17 HPX. A good friend of mine in the Bahamas named Solomon Murphy went with me, and it was like life-changing. Like, it was the most fascinating, best trip I've ever been on in my entire life. It was just, it reset everything for me, like spiritually, mentally. Like, you went to bed when the sun went down, you had, but it was like really primal about how you couldn't go fast. Like, we only had a little bit of fuel, so you couldn't like, I'm gonna go fish 30 miles this way today and 20 miles that way today. Like, you had to pull a long way because you didn't have enough gas to run to do whatever you need. Again, the micro elements of these places, most of us, when we go to these things, we have 3 days and we just blow past, honestly, 80% of the amazing things of why we're there. In this pursuit of, well, if we're tarpon fishing in the Keys, we're only there for 3 days. We got fish, and not take in, like, and stop and go look at this one thing that's happening, or go look at that really, like, is the magic of the whole place anyway. And so us being there for 20 days or so, we had to go slow, and it just changed the way that I wanted to travel and the way that I wanted to go do things. And so we put those films out there. They did really well. We got a lot of viewership on them, and really excited to do the second one. And I called Paul and build out the top our gear set, because it was really a really unique set of things that we had. It wasn't like we had a tackle box. Like, we had pelican cases and cots and tents and water containers, and just not shit you take fishing on a normal day.
Right.
And so they said that didn't really fit their production side of things, which was fine. I really enjoyed working with Charlie and their company. They have a great brand, and started looking out where, from a custom side of things, who could build this boat for us. And after a handful of conversations with other builders, ended up working with Harry Spear to build the first boat that we used for the trip. And thank the world of Harry. It's a fantastic guy. Like, we're initially going to partner on a few things, and when we got started trying to get everything dialed in, we just ended up him going and continue with Xplor Boatworks, and I was going to take this boat that we did and cut it up and start over and make something that was mine. And so that's kind of how we got to Xplor Boatworks. We built that first boat and took it to Louisiana, and had a bunch of interest in it. So yeah, we gave ourselves 7 days to build that thing. And it was, I think the gel coat wasn't even dry when we put on the trailer to bring it back to South Carolina. I remember when we first tried to launch it, but the first time we unstrapped it and backed it in the water, and it wouldn't come off the trailer. I'm like, what? And the gel coated all like dried to the carpet on the bunks on the trailer, and we had to like jack it up off the trailer to break the seal. Anyway, there was a pile of comical errors
Right.
on that round. But brought that boat back here. Had a couple people interested in building a boat. Bear Holman was one of them, and then Hugh Hudson. I think you know Hugh,
Yeah.
who works with me here now. Was another one, and so I spent a year, cut the whole bottom off that boat and rebuilt it how I thought it needed to be built, as far as the stuff that I wanted to add, and that was kind of where it started. And we, moved from a barn to another barn to a little bit bigger barn. Moved to where we need space. I was commuting 2.5 hours to a shop with a guy up in Anderson, South Carolina, named Kenny Whitehouse, who's a fantastic human and a really, really smart guy when it comes to plug making and tooling. And he was kind of on the way out of his career as far as retirement goes, and had some health concerns. And so we ended up coming back here with it and building and finishing everything here and starting to build a handful of boats. And it's been really, from there we built like 3 or 4 boats that first year, and made a pile of mistakes. Like, the guys that we built boats for have been fantastic as far as helping us pressure cook the ideas that we have on certain boats. I mean, I don't think any of these guys that build boats would tell you they did it right the first time. And it'd be awesome to say, well, yeah, we're on the water every day, like, I'm going to go test it, which is not realistic. And if it is, it's a very, like, one-sided vision of how the boat's going to be used. If you can get more people on it, using it in a pile of different ways and breaking things and working, like, legitimately working with you to say, this is what we found when we did this, it did that, and let us have enough time to go back and, like, try some other things and refine the product to where we have something now that I would put up against anybody's boat out there. We've gone about it a little bit different way. I'm not a small human, so building a tiny little boat hadn't really been on my radar so much, just because I don't fit in them real well. And so tried to go through and, like, say, when our skiff side of things, if we can have all the other boxes check off the exact same or better, but the boat's bigger, I think we'll win most of the people that are looking at us to build them a boat. Like, if it's between us, this and that, if everything's equal or better, but it's a little bit bigger, I think most people would go with the bigger platform just for more versatility into what they do. So that's kind of the route that we've taken on our skiffs. And then our 24, our bigger boat, we definitely tried to make it be a Swiss Army knife as far as being offshore capable, but still being able to be shallow draft enough to come back in and do anything that you would want to do in a light bay boat.
That thing is beautiful.
Thank you, ma'am.
Where are most of those headed?
They've been all over the place, from Texas to Maryland. Obviously, Florida takes up a big chunk of business for us, but owning our backyard and owning our dirt has been a priority for us in South Carolina. We're lucky to have Charleston down there, and a huge boating community, and a lot of new faces and new people coming there, and a lot of people on the water all the time. We don't want to be some giant boat company. I love the fact that we know our customers. Every boat of ours goes out with a name on it. It doesn't have a number. And it means a lot, does, for those people that have put their trust in us to build them something that, they've, for a lot of times, been dreaming about for a while. And it's a big purchase. This stuff isn't cheap. It had never been cheap, but it ain't getting any less expensive.
Yeah.
And, with the whole last year and a half, and everybody's tired of hearing about COVID crap, but it's been a big challenge in the boating space for the last 2 years. So I think for everybody in our industry that's gone in this crazy slump and then this crazy spike up, and then supply chain issues, just like cutting your feet out from under you on every single turn. I don't know, y'all probably see it too in y'all's business. Where
did you see the demand skyrocket when COVID hit?
We saw, I mean, we definitely saw growth across the board, in our stuff, but we didn't, we laid out a plan for ourselves that this is what we're going to build. Like, this is all we can build, and not go insane trying to meet a demand that's, I mean, right now, obviously you could go out and sell 1,000,000 boats if you had them.
Right.
I don't ever want to be that company. I like the fact that everyone leaves different, and that everyone gets our owner's take on it. And I'm not saying that we're like hyper unique in that standpoint. There's a lot of custom boat companies that do that. It just makes it's a really awesome partnership that you go into when a customer calls, and you can share a vision with them, or get in their lane with them, and come up with some cool ideas for whether it be a new tower design or a new piping or a different layout here. All those things. It could be it's been fantastic on that front as far as going through and building boats like that. It can be a big problem when, now, like, somebody wants a specific this or specific that it's back ordered 4 months, and you don't know when it's going to come in. So I think, I don't know, like I said, I don't think we're unique in that, as far as there's a lot of industries dealing with that. It just sucks to where, we had a lot of boats we wanted to deliver for summer, and we just couldn't finish them because we didn't have the parts in place to do it. And your communication with your people and with your customers is so critical. And I get gotten yelled at quite a bit in the last 6 months, but we've got great people, and we're getting to it. We're finally starting to get some of these boats kicked out the door.
Yeah. That's one of the things I've always liked about you. I think I've known you since I was 19, back in the Pescador days in Barton and Burwell. That's a long time ago.
It has 20 something years, man.
Yeah. Let's go back to that first X18 you built. I still can see that thing plain as day in my brain. Like, tell us, everybody, how you rigged it with the ridge pole and the kayaks. And
that's just funny. I was flipping back through my phone trying to find a video the other day, and I found the videos that you and Ellie were out, EJ were out there damn striper fishing that night and camping, and I just rode by and had you take some videos of me running in the boat so I could see what the hell it looked like.
I think you had called me for a fly line or something. I was like, I'll do it when I get back. I'm on Lake Murray. You're like, where the hell are you? Like,
yeah, I know. And then we got it, but I found those videos are still on my phone.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's but no, we had to potentially sleep 3 people on the boat, like, and part of it was going to be to try to stay on the boat some. So we'd set it up to where it had a center line, like the push bowl became kind of the roof line frame for the top via some aluminum pieces that we had made, and it had 2 paddle boards mounted on either side, so you could sleep on the boat.
They went off a little bit.
Yeah, they went off the side, so you could flip the racks when you were trailering it, and the board set in the boat. And then when you got to where you're going, you just unplug the racks and flipped them, and it would set the boards outside the boat. So it gave us like work tables when we were in there. It let us run in some really nasty stuff and still keep sprayed down, waves coming over the side or whatnot. And it was how we offloaded and loaded the boat a lot. We put all our gear on there and store them on these paddle boards when we went in our campsites. And we had one of them, we went in and offloaded it like a dead low tide on a supermoon, and came back and all our gear was floating on the paddle boards, away from the island that was no more. So they came in very handy in making sure we got to keep our gear for another little bit. But
it was all just sitting, just flip bobbing on top of the paddle.
Oh yeah. It was a shell island that we thought was, I just wasn't paying attention when it was
flooding,
what the tide was. And we had to go catch some dinner, and so we ran around the corner and ended up fishing for 4 or 5 hours and came back, and all our shit was floating, and it was funny. It worked out well. But we're trying to, I've still got that boat here. It's been cut up and re-put back together, but it's a little delicate. But I want to rebuild a new version of that thing for kind of some trade show stuff or some going around. But we just hadn't had any time with the mold to be cleared to be able to build one of those expedition boats. But it was all that part of it was so cool. It had to, and that's kind of what, like, how the brand initially like started and still maintains like this cleanliness of design to where you get a lot of use out of the boat. Like, whether you want to go duck hunting in it or grab oysters or take a bunch of people to sandbar, or like really technical fly fish or bait fish or striper fish or whatever. Like, I don't feel like you should be limited on that by the boat you purchase. Like, these things are expensive, and we try to be really cognizant of that too, and to not have them price themselves out of being available to anybody. You can put as much crap on them as you want, or you can strip them down as basic as you want.
You see most of them going out as tillers, that X18?
No, they may start there, but they don't ever end there.
Yeah.
I mean, we get a lot of guys come in and they want to bait well, they want this, they want that, and dude, that's what we're here for. Like, I tell everybody, our customers have all heard me say this, that like our goal, our job is to build your boat. Like, not force you to buy my boat the way I think it's supposed to be, but to build your boat the way you want it to be. I mean, all these things are 30 to 50 to 80 to 100 and something $1,000, and for that price, you shouldn't have to make too many compromises on what you want, as long as you're patient with some of the stuff that has to be
Right.
custom made for it, but I've tried to stick with that MO. It gets frustrating sometimes because some of the stuff is hard to do, and it's hard to, when you're trying to build more boats than just one at a time, when you have to re-educate somebody that's used to doing like a jack plate, like one brand of jack plate, that we get really good at like installing that and to go to a new brand. It throws a huge kink in things, as stupid as that sounds, but like then your jack plate bolts change, your power pole mounts that potentially may go to them change, the way the motor sits and tilts and trims changes, and all that's just been a learning curve for us. We've like I said, we make mistakes and we'll continue to make mistakes. We're not perfect by any means, but we try the best of our abilities to make sure that like what we're putting out is our best foot forward, and if it's not there on delivery, like we have a plan to get it there so that we can meet customer deadlines and stuff with some of these crazy delays we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of that's out of your hands, like all the manufacturing.
Well, that's what we're talking with somebody the other day, and they're like, how much of these delays are internal versus external? Like, it's like 90% external.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to tell you that it's 100% internal. That would be the easy, that we could actually solve that.
Right.
Like, it meant we were making a big mistake that's fixable. But when you're counting on, a motor supplier to have you motors on, set days, and like we had motors that were supposed to be here in May and they aren't here, and it's September, and it's a lot of motors. It wasn't, I mean, we ordered 180 motors this year. Dang. And we've gotten like 8 of them. So it's
stick with one brand, or you kind of do whatever the customer wants?
We started doing kind of whatever the customer wanted that we could procure. If Yamaha has been a hard one for us to get, just for the fact that they want some really, really substantial requirements as far as transoms go to be able to work as an OEM. And we were able to make those relationships happen much easier with Mercury, and then later on with Suzuki. And, the truth of it now is, 15 years ago, Yamaha's made a better motor most of the way around. And now with the voice that the end user has, and how strong social media is, and being able to like train wreck somebody if you want to, from a consumer standpoint, it's forced everybody to put their, like, nothing comes out now that's not so vetted and tested that it's a good product. And all these outboards are great motors. Like, there's not one of them that's bad. There might be certain things that you like, that a little feature here and there that something does, but in the smaller horsepower motors, a 60, dude, there's not a bad 60.
Right.
Like, they hadn't changed in 20 years. Like, there's the kinks are worked out. Like, they're all good motors. It mainly comes down to what, if you have a relationship with a service center that can only service specific brands, I tend to tell our customers that I would let that be more of a deciding factor on what I purchase than what I felt like the Joneses had down the street on their boat.
Yeah.
But obviously we try to we now have means to get whatever motor anybody wants. And right now, primarily we work with Mercury, and then Suzuki, and then Yamaha, just from the way that the scale has been on the supply chain setup as far as when we came in. and then all this crap happening, like it's really hard to get an advanced allocation on some things being in the state that we're in. I think next year we'll probably see a little bit of a change in that. We may be able to, we may shift gears here and there a little bit, but we love our guys at Mercury. They're made in the United States, and we really like that.
Where do they ship out of?
Sorry. Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
I was gonna say, after you built the X18, what was your second model y'all came out with?
So I spit this nasty dip out. So when we were building the original X18, Kenny Whitehouse and I were chatting one night, and I drew a picture of what I would want my bay boat to look like. And it's not like I sat down with a napkin, but like I'd been working on it for a bit, thinking about where this boat company go, where the market share, where there was going to be a availability of sales. And when I showed him the picture of what I'd drawn, he's like, man, you need to come look at this. I've been working on this boat for about 4 or 5 years, and it's almost identical to what you drew. And so walking outside the back of the shop, and there's this mold there for this 24-foot boat. And he popped one of them out that a guy on Lake Hartwell has, Brian Kelly. And it just worked out that we could buy that hull mold from him, and then potentially finish out however we wanted to finish it out. And it's been great. The boat is kind of he's obviously all boats are pulled ideas from somewhere else, but it's a one-off. It's something that we kind of pulled some running surface features from another racing center console, and then kind of put them with some dead rise measurements off of another boat, and love the way that it turned out. But I sat on that mold for like 3 years. I couldn't afford to build one of them. And it was like
a lot of glass.
Not even that. It's just more like the I didn't have the mental capacity to like go at it. I mean, I've lost more sleep over that damn thing than any boat we've ever built.
5 feet more a boat doesn't seem like that much, but when you put them side by side.
Oh, when you start looking at bilge pumps and wire chases and plumbing and potential catastrophic failure and all these things and how we're going to go get around that. I mean, that's why I have this, it's killed me
and
as far as that goes. Yeah. And the kids. Yeah. But no, I love building the little boats. They're just so simple and so much fun and a lot easier to use. I mean, I think my family's probably spent more time on a tiller X18 than any boat that we've ever built. But that 24 is one that, like, performance wise, I think you'd be hard pressed to put that boat up with any other 24-foot boat in its class that's going to do what that thing can do when driven correctly. We've had to go through and make a few tweaks and changes based on, you don't ever want to have a boat that comes with a 20-page owner's manual on how to drive it. Like, you want to be able to get in and turn it on and hit it and it do 95% of what you think it's going to do. And through our kind of ambassador team that we have, we were able to really identify what those changes need to be and make those changes and kind of continue to make them on our guides' boats that are on them every day. And getting that hull to where it really perform and be able to go say, hey, I don't know if this is going to work, but I need you to try it and see if you can break it. And if you break it, I need you to really like try to remember how you broke it so that we can make that adjustment and see if it works. Cause you got, whether it be the the access to it, or whether it be a convenience feature, or whether it be like how we plumb this and get it there, or how we run wiring through here to where it can be redone. Like, I mean, all those things take so much trial and error, and the R&D of it, it can't ever be complete. I mean, I think if there's one thing that we never stop doing is like refining our designs or changing our designs to try to be better. I don't want to see one of our hulls that's the same for 10 years. Like, I don't think that makes sense from what we like to do is to try to build the best thing we can. And
if you can fix it.
Yeah. And if we do, we do, and try not to do it in a place where it's going to cannibalize somebody else's boat, but to where their boat can be changed to match. we made a running surface change on our 24 and have, gotten most all the boats back in now to make that change for them so that the boat performs like we want it to perform. Or at least ask them if they are having this problem. They having a problem where it's wanting to porpoise a little bit when it's here or there. Some guys have liked that part of it, and but it's for us, it's more of this like never ending kind of quest to make it the best that we can make it, and that comes with constant change.
Yeah.
I don't think you look at too many of these, and I don't think we're unique in that per se. I mean, I think anybody who builds a boat themselves has that passion for that, to try to make it better. I mean, you're gonna find things that need to be changed. You're gonna make something go, damn it, that was wrong. Like, we'll have to fix that next time, kind of stuff. But it's been that part has been really fun and really stressful. When you find something, you go, God, that makes it so good. Like, we need to change it now. Like, it really just fixes all this stuff.
Yeah.
So after we did the 24s, I wanted to do a technical poling skiff. Like, we weren't going to do a ton of flats boats. This was going to be our one boat, and then we were going to go up from there. And it was just going to be called the X. It was just going to be our traditional flats boat layout, a carbon boat that we were going to do everything. And so I started working on the plug for it, and we really this kind of came in to be two boats when we were done with it. It came to be our X7, which is a 7-degree dead rise boat, and then our X13, which is a 13-degree dead rise boat. And both of them were built for like very different things. I mean, the 13-degree was built, we were talking about Newman Weaver at the beginning, was like built for Newman. Like, I went and fished with him on his boat. He's got an 18 HPX, which is a fantastic boat. But I thought that there were some things that we could do different for the environment that we were in, that boat wasn't necessarily built around. In South Carolina, we've got to cross some really big bodies of water, some big inlets, and a lot of times it's a bay boat that is needed, or a bigger center console needed to punch through some of that. But the other half of your day, you're needing to be on a skiff. And so that was where that 13-degree came from. And it was going to be, it was a super fast, potential big horsepower boat that was going to let you do some of the bigger water stuff where draft wasn't necessarily an issue.
Like a good keys tarpon boat too.
Yeah, it's a fantastic. I mean, it's a big boat. It's 18.6, and it's an 84-inch beam on the cap, but it's got a giant cap on it. So I wanted the spray rails to be cap height. I didn't want them to be integrated into the hull really low because of the opportunity for slap that comes out of that in rough conditions. A lot of other boats utilize their spray rails in the front very low, and it's good when you're running, and that it's a much easier capture point for the water coming off the bottom of the hull. But once you get to fishing, you've heard them. I mean, you can hear the pop from it a long way away, and every boat fishes and pulls well when it's greased out, slick, calm. But the other days are the days when you really want to test your product and see if it does. And I would put that 13-degree boat up again. I don't give a shit whose boat you got. Like, that sounds very bragging to say, but that damn thing will run circles around anybody else's flats boat. Speed wise, built one with they put a 2.4 Bridgeport Mercury race motor on the back of it. Similar to Dustin Huff's Chittum that he's got, the Widowmaker. And at 2,000 RPMs off the top, we're at like 72 miles an hour. And that thing is crazy stable. But it was hard to do demo rides with customers to say, like, here's your life jacket, here's your earphones, because this thing's so freaking loud. Right. And
here's your face mask in case we hit a peak.
Right. And so kind of went back to the 115 setup on that, and that's been our normal setup for the X series of skiff, especially on the 13. It's a 55, 56 mile an hour boat with a 115. Drafts about 8 inches, runs really well in the ocean, and in big stuff. It just keeps the bow really high. There's a lot of hydrodynamics at work in that, with the way our cap setup is to force the bow up. and keep it dry. And it's got a big center pad. And then the 7 degree was kind of the shallow water kind of. I honestly talk more people out of the 13 into the 7 than the other way around, because with a 90 um, with a 90 horsepower, you're like a 6-inch draft with that boat, and it still poles. I mean, both of the boats pole ridiculous. I mean, they're really, really, really nice to push around. But the 7 has been the one that we've probably sold the most of, as far as it being a boat that you can fish flood tide in the grass, to where you can still go run to the keys, where you can run to the chandeliers, and it still runs, and it runs great in big water. It's super dry. It's just not the 13. If we built 50 X7s, we may build 5 13s. Like, it's just not a boat I really care if we build a lot of. I just felt like it needed to be built. And I have one personally. Like, it's the boat that I would rather fish in whenever we're doing anything besides like super skinny stuff.
Yeah, and those tournament, especially those tournament redfish guys, that's about all they care about is how fast it goes.
Well, you can put a 225 on the back of it, and like it will steady run in the upper 70s. And dude, it's 72 miles an hour. I can let go of the steering wheel. I wouldn't tell anybody to do this, but I can let go of the steering wheel and like shake the console, and the boat won't come off pad.
Nice.
It's incredibly stable. And the way that the pad's set up, most boats are going to run on pad like really exposed in the breast of the boat. So like any impact you're taking in here, and it's
Like
causing the boat
boat.
to do. Yeah. This one runs really flat and elevated. So you're leading a lot with the sharp end of the boat. So you can run at those high speeds, in a 2-foot chop, and it just goes. It takes a lot of horsepower to do it. But the guys that are looking for that, the boat's a legit candidate for any of these redfish tournament guys. And I had no idea in building that thing that may be a possibility. But with no polling tower on it and 2 guys fishing off the front of the boat, I mean, with a 225, it's a 10-inch boat, and it'll run upper 70 speed, pretty consistent.
Jeez, I get nervous anything over about 50. I'm like, yeah, it's fast enough.
You don't even know it. Like we had with that race motor on the back. I mean, a couple of people drive it, and they they like, I don't want to go over, it's going fast isn't for me. And then you look down at the speedometer when they're driving, and they're running
smile on their face,
and they're like, no, this thing runs great. And I'm like, yeah, you left like 30 way back there, dude.
Right.
Like, we're freaking hauling ass. And so yeah, it's I'm really, really proud of those 2 boats. I mean, I built those from legit scratch. Designed them all here, built them all from scratch here, and they are fantastic fishing platforms. They're both super stable for guides out there that are looking to fish, 2 anglers or potentially even 3 anglers. It has the room to do it, and it still poles and can go bone fishing in 6 inches of water with, 2 guys on it. I mean, there's a handful of ways to lay the boat out for different things. It's got tons of storage, up to 85 gallons of live well water available in the boat if you want it. So for guys that are doing a bunch of bait fishing, it's got the well capacity for it.
Or the tournament guys too.
Yeah. I mean, you can do multiple release wells. You can do oxygen stones. I mean, we can do any of that stuff as far as tournament stuff goes. But you can, it's got, I want to say, just in the back of the boat, there's about 160 gallons of storage in the back of the boat, like in dry storage. And the way we set the seat up, it's a 75-25 bench. So if you're sitting on it, the main bench seat opens aft, and then the side piece opens outboard. So if me and you were fishing and you're driving the boat and you want to get to your flies or your Flymen, you can store all like your high frequency use stuff in the little side and pop it up without anybody having to stand up. And it's outboard. So if you bobble it, it falls back in the hole as opposed to falling out of the boat.
And both of those new boats have the Yeti bucket on the polling platform. That was
all of our skiffs are now.
That's a great idea.
Bucket holder on there now. Yeah, that was kind of one that I'm not going to give Bear credit for it, because I told him I only give credit the first time I talk about it. After that, it's my idea. But but no, bear. We started looking at trying. We're first going to build the step up enough to where the cool bucket would fit underneath the step. And I was like, why are we not just making something? Why don't we make the step hold it?
I guess
And
a
it's
stripping
been,
bucket right there too.
yeah,
With
it can be
the
stripper
valve.
bucket, anchor bucket, trash can. I mean, there's 1,000. You know, people say, what do you use a 5-gallon bucket for? I'm like, man, get in line. There's a bazillion things you can do that with.
You're real with a girl on the boat.
Right, exactly. So that's been a super super. Yeah, it's been fun. That we have a full welding shop inside our shop now, so we've got 2 full-time welders and 2 machines and benders and all that stuff in the back, which is a dangerous play area when it comes to trying to be creative and thinking of new stuff. But piping can really like make a bad boat look awesome or make a awesome boat look like shit if it's done wrong. So being able to play with those designs and have our customers come in too and have input on them is awesome too. But it's been cool. It's been fascinating. I mean, this whole thing has just been. I pinch myself every day that we're in the position that we're in. It doesn't come without struggles and without hardships. But I mean,
We all knew you could do it.
yeah, we're not there. The jury's still out on that yet. Although I appreciate your vote, but it has been just. It's been surreal, man, to be able to come through and be trusted by our customers to build them something that they've really worked really hard for, and that they choose us to do that is it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
Well, do what you love, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, man, you hope so. You know, it's I think you gotta. I say this like I look at my kids and try to teach them some of this stuff too. That like, you know, there's a price for everything, and if you don't treat it like it's important to you, you know, and make it important, and it can be anything. But I think when you get into some of these leisure industries, you know, where you're or recreational stuff where you're providing something that's not like a mandatory supply,
Mhm.
it becomes even more important to treat it even more seriously, because so many people can strip it up from under you that it's not worth messing with, or that it's, you know, you shouldn't do that, you should do something that's more traditional or whatnot. That I think when you look at doing like a lot of stuff you've done too, that it's a passion for you, and if it's that important to you, that it deems that type of respect. I mean, I tell my kids there's nothing worth doing that's not worth overdoing. Like if you like it,
Go all
you
in.
go all in. There's the only, you know, like my son when they said, well, you know, he's a soccer player, but if he was a ballerina, we'd be the best fucking ballerina you could be. Like that's the goal. You
Yeah.
know, the goal is not to be mediocre. Um, and I think if you go at it with that attitude, understanding that you're going to stumble and you're going to fall, and that those failures are as much probably more important than the successes along the way, as far as teaching you how to do things and really making things stand out in your mind as far as how you're going to react and how you're going to build your business. Like it's amazing to be able to do what we do, and but it's come with a shitload of perseverance, and with people saying you shouldn't do this, or this isn't going to work, or you can't do this. You know, fuck you. Like
Totally.
we want to do it,
Right.
and if we fail, we fail. Like,
But at least
you
you
know,
tried.
yeah, but I mean, but you get to do it again.
Right.
You know, I mean, I think those kind of things, like there's nothing wrong with failing any of this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
but
Failure and quitting are two different things.
right. And I think if you go at this, which we have, and we failed on some things, it just takes that stupidity to stay. I'm going back in, and we're going to fix this shit. And it gets to a point where you don't have a choice. Like you're too far in at that point to concede. Like, you know, it's been you know, when you start to get more employees and you start to get more people involved, it changes from a business to like this social experiment. We're building a boat for a customer that's become a super good friend of mine, a guy named Keith Mercurio from Wilmington, North Carolina. And he's like a executive coach that goes in and like really dissects language used and how you talk to people around that you work with, which sounds stupid, and I've told him that. But it's fascinating to see just the little bit of work that he's been able to do with me, and to sit down with my team and just casually talking and giving me advice on those things as far as how it changes your mindset as a in a business, because, and y'all are, I would imagine y'all are in the same position, that you have this product that you design and you know how to make it. But at some point, if you want to continue to make it and sell it, you have to entrust somebody else to do pieces of that job for you. And you hope that you can get the right person in there that does it the way you would, or better. I mean, that's been my thing, is I've tried to surround myself with people that are better at doing the steps that were needed than I can do. Um, and when you start to put that trust into those people, it changes your business. If you and I built these boats together and I did the fiberglass and you did the wiring, well, that's pretty easy.
Fire hazard.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Yeah,
pretty,
totally.
yeah, I wouldn't trust, I'm not saying I would trust you to do it. I'm just saying that hypothetically,
Right.
it would be really easy to say, well, Frankie's going to do this, Scotty's going to do this, and that's what they're going to do. But when you start to, we've got 30 employees here now and getting ready to add another 30, that a lot goes into, how do we keep these people really happy and excited about what we're doing as a whole and what we're making, and not just what we're making, but like what we provide at the end of the day. Because there's 1,000 boats you can go buy, and there's 1,000 flies you can go buy. I mean, like, what you and I both sell are not this product. We sell this gateway to this feeling, and whether it be the feeling of catching a fish, or the feeling of going and taking your kids skiing or going fishing, whatever it is, it's all the same value. Like, none of it's cheaper than the other one as far as face value goes. But we sell the transportation to the feeling. And when you can go get a group of people behind you to believe that and to feel that and to be a part of it and own their particular spot of it, it's magical what happens. And we're right there. We got a great group of people up here. We're adding to them every day. But a bunch of fantastic individuals that work here now, that just, it's a huge honor that they've put their faith in me to have a company that they're happy to, that they're willing to come here and work with me to make boats. And so when you get to that point, it changes the way that you look at how you get your product from point A to B. Having a lot of meetings about, what do these people think about this? What are they, giving ownership to those spots? And our customers have been a huge part of that too. And that, when you come by a boat, you don't deal with just me. Like, you meet everybody. You come in the shop and meet all of our guys in the back that are putting the boats together, and have a relationship with them. And that's the end game for this. The important part of this is to pay forward the insane awesome things that it's done in my life, to try to pay some of that forward. Because everybody that means the world to me in my life, a lot of it has come from being around the water. And I think when you look at the values that teaches you as a kid, to the values that it teaches you as an adult, to the understanding as you get older of, taking care of these places and taking care of water and ecosystems and all that, and how much it starts to mean, it's a humbling spot to be in, where we are, to be able to build the transport vessel that takes people out to see that.
Yeah, that's so cool, man.
It's awesome. It gives me goosebumps every time I talk about it. It's
The goosebumps hearing it.
well, I try not. It sounds salesy half the time I say it, and it means
Sounds
the
honest.
world to me. Well, duh. I'm glad it comes across like that, because it's the number one goal for us here is to have fun with what we're doing, like, from everybody here. And there's going to be shit days and stuff like that. You got to muscle through some crap. But at the end of the day, like, if we're not happy here, and we being everybody that works here at Xplor, if they're not happy, then we need to find them something else to do. It's just, life's too short to go through it being pissed off. And with what we do here, we're just super lucky to be able to do it, man. It's if we don't build another boat after today, like, it's been fucking amazing to go through what we've gone through here.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I'll put your I'll give you some dates soon, but you should come on that camping trip on the lake with us and bring some boats.
Dude, don't even, like, Even if I come up for a night, I'm in. Like I would
You
love
come
to come
for a
and
night, you'll have to stay for the next day to recover. So
yeah, I'd love to see EJ too, man. I love that guy,
yeah, me
and
too.
he's so close, and we don't ever. I mean, granted, now you have, you know, if you're not part of work or my kids' soccer teams, like the odds of us running into each other is very low.
Yeah, well, those stripers should be back soon. So somewhere
Well,
around
we need to get out
November.
on the water anyway.
Yeah.
I'd love to get. I'd love to go hang out with you for a day and go fishing and screw off.
Oh yeah, come
It'd
down.
be fun for sure. And thank you so much for the flies you sent me too, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, let me know if you need some more.
We always need more. We've run through most of those already.
Nice. Yeah, I'll get something up to you.
But dude, that'd be great. And if when you're through Columbia, please come see me. I'd love to
Yeah,
give
I
you a
will.
tour of the plant and show you everything we're doing here. And if y'all ever need anything from us, just say the word. We enjoy working with good people, and you're definitely one of them.
Yeah, man, we appreciate it. Well, we will fish soon, I promise.
All right, brother.
Keep in touch.
See ya.
All right, see you, man.